Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Safari Mack Explores North America. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're still here in San Diego, hanging out with the brown pelicans, or as we know them by their Latin name, Pelicanus occidentalis. Today, we're going to finish up our time with the brown pelicans, and stay tuned at the end of today's episode for the reveal of next week's animal that we're going to uncover. But as always, if you're new to my channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Check out my Facebook page for special content on conservation projects and tips. And finally, if you have questions or if there's an animal that you would like to request for me to do in the future, all you gotta do, just send me an email, which you'll find the address down in the description below. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's talk about the wild things. Now, you will remember last week how I told you that the brown pelican is the only species of pelican that actually dives out of the water to catch their fish, right? Now, if we tried to do something like this would probably hurt it. We'd be in a lot of pain right at the moment. So, what they're doing, they're looking at, so how do they protect themselves from such an impact, right? Well, thankfully, they've got a lot of air. They have specialized air sacs that expand just before that they inflate with just before they hit the impact, so that they're protecting their larynx, their trachea, and all their other special cords, so as to not hurt themselves. Another cool thing about these birds, if they look prehistoric like, that's because they really have not had to change themselves too much in the 30 plus million years that they have been with us on the planet. Finally, here's a pretty interesting one. Males, how they attract the females to breed with them during that official breeding season. They begin building their nests and think of as many ways to entice them to come and join with them. Usually it works, and it really depends on where they're going to nest. Some would prefer to nest in the trees, some in the grass, some in the marsh areas. It all depends, especially on where specifically the bird is located within the United States of the southern region. Now, let's talk about their past threats and their current challenges. Now, today, thankfully, it seems that brown pelicans have a secure future. Decades ago, that almost didn't seem to be the case. Today, unfortunately, they do face problems from fishermen as well as natural disasters like the Gulf of Mexico oil spill that took place in 2010. And if there was one thing I can remember as a kid, as a high schooler growing up, I just could not believe how many birds were sadly soaked, and unfortunately how many of them died. I even learned a really sad story that believe it or not, these birds almost did become extinct. And it wasn't really just because of oil. It wasn't the oil. This was before that. Do you remember this product? If you do, it's good. But if not, for those who are just joining me, I have two previous episodes that covers this DDT product. That is the American bald eagle and the peregrine falcon. So, but I'll give you a little backstory of the DDT. So, long ago, for farmers, a way to improve our way of life was to use as much pesticides as possible. One of this was DDT. So what they would do is they would hire men who could fly dust cropping planes to spray this all over their crops, which then soaked into the ground, and over time, as the elements came, so sunshine and rain, it would get washed down into the rivers and then ultimately into the oceans. DDT almost killed so many different birds. It really caused so many near extinctions. Bald eagles, peregrine falcons, and even the pelicans. That's because this severely messed with their reproduction in terms of their eggshells. You see, egg-laying creatures, or oviparous animals, so reptiles and birds, they need a lot of calcium. They're constantly looking for and eating as much calcium as possible, right, to build up so that they can develop strong eggshells. DDT was causing these eggshells to become so thin that even the slightest touch ultimately broke the egg itself, and as a result, the embryo inside was already doomed to death before it even had a chance to reach maturity and begin hatching. So, here's another really wild way to look at it. Back in California, they were from what was may have been from 1,125 nests. So 727 nests were remaining between the years of 1969 and 1970. Imagine that right now. Now, as you can see by these results, they have made a big impact, but other states, they almost were completely gone forever. Believe it or not, Louisiana, the state that I referred to last week as, if I didn't mention this, I apologize, as the Pelican state, or the state with the pelican on its flag, that bird was completely extinct from Louisiana. But there is a way that we can still all learn to coexist. Now, first of all, I want to make this clear. Fishermen and seabirds have a bit of a hard time, but pelicans seem to have it even tougher. And I'm not talking about like the big fishery boats, not really just those guys. I'm talking about people that fish off of piers or along the coasts. Sometimes, unfortunately, fishermen accidentally hook these birds and accidentally create tears in their pouches. And because the pouch is what they need to survive, it's what helps them catch their fish, unfortunately, any tear, fish are going to get out, and these poor birds are going to starve. Now, a little bit of my history. I once volunteered for a rescue, rehabilitation, and release area. I did some volunteer work, and one winter, I saw more brown pelicans with so many different tears in their pouches than I could care to even remember or count. It was bad. Thankfully, my area acted quickly and put a ban on fishing on one of these piers on Sundays, and it's still inactive today, though a lot of people are arguing against it and want this rule reversed. But because of this act, it's helped save a lot of pelicans from having to be sent to the animal hospitals. But these pouches take time to heal, and these birds, if they were out in the wild, they would not last. But now let's get back to how we can continue, how some of the great progress these birds have made in conservation. If you haven't seen him before, it's good. It's President Theodore Roosevelt, 26th President of the United States of America, a true conservationist. In 1903, he set aside the Pelican Island as what we now know as the Pelican Island National Wildlife Refuge to solely protect brown pelicans in the state of Florida. And at one point, after the brown pelican was declared extinct in Louisiana, after time passed, a number of brown pelican juveniles were captured and relocated to Louisiana to repopulate. And so thanks to this, and thanks to other wildlife refugees across the country, these birds have made an amazing comeback. But we still have a lot of work to do. Unfortunately, the birds still do get caught up in the fishing lines or the fishing nets. And so just what we really need to do, we need to be a little more careful with how we fish or how we do our recreational activities, because if we're not careful, we're doing a lot more harm than we may realize. So just be careful, be aware of your surroundings, and if you do see an injured bird, call your local wildlife office so that they can help you take the next step to help these animals survive. And another big thing I really would like to point out, please don't feed the animals. It seems fun and it seems cute, but really it's a lot more harm, and they ultimately then become a nuisance for other pedestrians. In fact, during my weekend in Hutchinson Island a couple months ago, we actually had a group of pelicans following me and my family on our boat because somebody decided he was going to feed them. So they wouldn't stop messing with us, and they almost got caught in our fishing line. So just don't do it. Well, that's all. Let's all give a round of applause for the brown pelican. Join me next week in San Francisco at Pier 39 with the Sea Lions. But until then, I'll see you all out there.